Hello and welcome to Plat Chat Overwatch episode 63. Today,
presented by T-Mobile.
It is presented by T-Mobile. Almost forgot that part. Today, Johnny's moving house, so we got our lovely assistant Jake to fill in. We've muted his mic because he's eating oatmeal at the moment.
Some would say he's a more evolved version of Johnny.
He's
a healthier,
more evolved,
more muscular,
smaller.
I mean, I think Johnny would be more muscular. Johnny's like fucking 300 pounds, isn't he? On a 6'8" frame.
You say Johnny's 300 pounds?
I don't know how 300 pounds.
How much is it?
I don't think Johnny is 300 pounds.
I don't know, but he's more of a he's more of an athletic build than a.
We say 250.
Brick
call
shit.
Call it evens. 250.
Jake is the evolution of Reinforce.
I mean, I don't think he'd appreciate you saying that.
What do you mean?
It's like not a very nice thing to say about your friend, Matt.
And what are the chances that Johnny actually goes back and watches the episode?
Pretty likely.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Pretty likely. I'll tell you what though.
Upload it sometimes, so yeah, there's a decent chance you may see this part.
We've been gaming together, haven't we? Recently.
Who?
Me and you. Been playing a bit of World of Warcraft together.
Like
New expansions been coming out.
Yeah.
Been doing some of those runs, and I'll tell you what. The other day, you know Torghast. You know what Torghast is, Matt?
Yeah.
We were doing Torghast, weren't we?
Yeah,
we it's a little. If you don't know what Torghast is, it's like a little dungeon crawler game. Have you ever played a dungeon crawler game?
No, I'm just giggling at Jake doing the charades in the background. He's like, "Oh,
he says it's hot."
And then he's just giggling.
Yeah, but anyway, my story about the dungeon crawlers is more important. It's pretty fun. You go through a generated dungeon, and you get. I mean, the games change they vary to vary, but in WoW they've got their own like take on it. It's pretty sick, and you got to do it to get your legendary item at the end of it. And I was doing Torghast, level 3, layer 3, I should say, layer 3, the highest that you can do in week 1. I'm going through it soloing, fucking rolling through the streets, and Jake can tell me exactly what's going on here because. Oh no, but what the fuck am I talking about? Oh yeah,
layer 3. I think you're talking about
layer 3. Yeah,
layer 3,
I'm rolling through the mall. I'm rolling through the mall. The jailer is coming up. He's coming up to man. He's saying, "Listen, what are you doing in my prison? What are you doing in my prison? Get out of here!" And I'm like, "No, I'm trying to kill all your people." And I tell you what, it strikes at the worst fucking time possible, imaginable.
What happens?
Wired internet cuts out again. Jake, you can. Jake knows about this as well. The whole house knows about it. Kurt, you know about this, don't you?
I lost my Magic game yesterday because their internet turned off.
Yeah, the wired frickin' internet cut out. Not T-Mobile, obviously.
What'd you do?
What did I do? Well, I'm glad you asked, man. I'm glad you asked, man. I'm glad you asked. Because listen, booted up your mobile device, plugged it straight into the PC, 5G, tether that bad boy, boom, T-Mobile, straight into my veins, baby. Straight into my fucking veins. Let's go, baby. Let's go. And I roll through the mall. I roll through Torghast. Rat-a-tat-tat. More rats going down. Left, right, center. You don't know. The gat comes out. The jailer's like, "Oh, no, stop doing that. Stop doing that. You're on layer 3. Calm down. I'm on layer 4, layer 5, layer 6. I don't care. I don't care anymore. T-Mobile, 5G. Did you know that they have 5G coverage in all 50 states? And T-Mobile is America's largest 5G network. In fact, even better, no other 5G signal goes farther to bring you closer to the Overwatch League and keep you connected to the game. So rank up and take your wireless game to the next level with T-Mobile and visit T-Mobile.com today.
I tell you what, our gaming experiences would be piss poor without T-Mobile 5G.
They actually would, yeah. I mean, they've saved our WoW raids. They saved my Torghast run. They've saved this podcast before,
sometimes.
Actually.
In real life, yeah.
They've saved this podcast before. Once we were recording, the internet cut out. Had to plug in the old T-Mobile. Got that shit working again, didn't we? Literal lifesavers. And I'm not just saying that because we're decked out in magenta.
But partly.
Anyway, episode 63 of Plat Chat Overwatch. We're here. Finally, we made it. This is a big episode because we actually promised to shave Matt's head when we reach episode 63.
That's true.
And we're going to be doing that later on.
Promised that.
Yeah. We did promise that. Let's start with some big news. Start with some big old news. You almost done?
He would shave his head like a little monk.
We can just,
like a monk haircut.
Yeah. I said I would give myself the Sideshow at episode 100.
San Francisco shock. You would give yourself to Sideshow.
No, the Sideshow haircut. Like,
I thought you said you would. I was with you there, Bren. I thought he was gonna give himself in marriage to
Yeah,
me,
like
or
it
give
was
himself
like
as
some
a
weird.
I couldn't think of a union going faster towards a divorce than me and Sideshow. I couldn't think of two people who would head towards the courthouse and be like, get that person away from me faster. Maybe
I
could be
would.
Bren.
I would love living with you. I think we could have a
I
very
think you'd
happy
be
relationship
I think
if
you'd be
you
a
were just
great couple,
open-minded.
personally.
Yeah, I mean, look, all I need is my desk, my computer, T-Mobile 5G, and some coffee, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, you need someone to look after you, though.
You do
Yeah.
need somebody to look after you. Do you know how to use cutlery yet? I remember you couldn't use cutlery.
I can use cutlery. Yeah, I've always been able to use cutlery. Yeah,
I actually worked in a care home for many years, so I think we probably would be a great couple.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you could have been a doctor if you didn't just.
I could
get
look
kicked
after
out.
you tenderly as
good?
you just
All right, make
peacefully
sure you
pass through
speak
your
out.
elder
I-
years.
As
Check
I
one, two.
age.
Jake with
Yeah.
us now? He is. All right, cool. Let's do first topic. The Shock have re-signed a bunch of players, and they've signed a new player. They've got Super back, Smurf back, Choi back, Violet back, Striker back, and Nero has been added on top of this roster. What the hell? Look at this, the Shock. Look at them.
Yeah,
Yo.
they
Trying
got
to go for the
those
three-piece
salary
again,
cap
huh?
in just for the shock.
Yeah, those deep little Andy Miller pockets, aren't they? They've got some cash in them.
And supposedly they have another player to announce.
I think that was
There's
Nero,
more.
wasn't it?
There's more. Huh? Yeah, but there's more announcements coming.
Really?
They still have
really?
at least another player to announce. Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of wild.
I mean, if these guys didn't come back to the Shock, I'd be having some serious words.
Well, it
I
sounds
don't know
like
who I'd be having the
Super's
words
just
with,
for-
but I'd be having some serious words.
It sounds like Super's just for this year, from what it sounds.
well, that's the
but-
weird thing, right? Is like the whole branding around Super coming back to the Shock is like he's going for the three-peat. What was the word they used? Like one last
dance, like the Michael
last
Jordan
dance.
thing.
Yeah. But I mean, is that just a piss take? Surely, if you're in Super shoes, like you don't know what the world is gonna look like in a year from now. How can you have
Hell,
already
man.
made the decision? This
haven't
is
seen this,
amazing.
Kurt?
This is incredible.
John Spector tweeting out the comparison of Super to Michael Jordan.
It's
Net
actually
worth millionaire. Oh, he did him dirty with Earthshatter's whiff, though. That should have been the opportunity to go for Earthshatter's hit and 0 for Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's wise to disrespect Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I think if you were Super, we talked a lot about his kind of free agency on the show, but I think the only two options were to return to the Shock or just become a content creator.
I mean,
yeah, that's what I said.
yeah.
And I even think he's probably going to play it with Shock in like a year-by-year basis. Like if you're Super, like, do you want to commit for 2 years? Like, no, you could commit for 1 year and then kind of reassess. Do I want to do content? Do I want to keep playing? What if his content just kind of goes down in the year? Then he can keep playing. Like it gives him a lot of options. So I'm not surprised it's just a 1 year. And even if even if it is just a 1 year deal, I think there's still a chance he would continue to play after.
Yeah, maybe he becomes a DPS player after this year.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, he is like got to be one of the most valuable players from a signing perspective across the board. I think that's something a lot of people don't think about, fans of the league. Looking at a player signing, like a lot of the most dedicated fans, they're going to be thinking about, was this player in the game? What are they playing? And I think Super's a pretty solid tank player. He's like, you're not worried about having him on the roster. You want him there as a strong player who's going to contribute well to the team. But there's not many players that check that box. And at the same time, I mean, there's nobody who has content as sorry about that. There's nobody
professional.
There's nobody else who who like has good as successful content creation as Super. He's like #1 by far as far as Overwatch content creation. He can go in front of cameras. He can be on a TV show, right? Like there's a lot of skills a lot of players don't possess. So if I were Super, I would not be signing anything other than 1 year deals because I mean he could just continue on like whether he's playing, whether he's like you guys said, he has all these options, but no matter what, he's going to be making the bag, getting signed to any team. And I can see why he just wants to play on the team he thinks is going to win the most because realistically, it's about the long term for him now. He's got the short term lockdown.
Yeah. And I mean, he's right. Like, there's no team that he could join where he'd have a better chance of getting another title than the Shock. I don't believe that. Unless the Shock were gonna. That was the thing that we were talking about with the Shock. Unless they lost like Violet and Moth and like Striker and Choi or something like that, this team was always going to be in title contention and arguably the favorite. So now that they've re-signed everybody, they are absolutely
who have they got on their main support?
FD God.
FD God,
right.
he's a freak.
Yeah.
Like,
God, this team is fucking crazy. Actually, even now, like with Nero added now as well to the squad.
Well, here's so would you rather have Moth and Rascal or FD God and Nero looking at it?
For next year or for like
both pretty comparable.
I guess for this next year coming up, like, would you rather have had FD God and Nero or Moth and Rascal? Like, could you position it as like they potentially upgraded those two spots, or at least broke even?
I mean, broke even, I think, is very reasonable to say. I think FD God is an insanely talented player that could arguably hit higher heights than Moth did, in my opinion. But also, I think it's about the hunger of those guys too, right? Like when you win back-to-back championships, I think it would be very natural for some of the players to lose the fire. And just adding in new hungry players like FD God and Nero, who are moldable, very high talent ceiling on them, and you have that great coaching staff, and you've just freshened up again. Nothing is going to get stagnant whatsoever. I think this is an amazing look for them moving forwards.
I mean, personally, I love the Nero pickup. I think it totally fills that role as far as not having Rascal, and just adds that increased flexibility to the DPS line. What they can run, there's no real limits on the team. But I would argue that I would rather have Moth if I were the SF Shock. I mean, I think FD God is an incredibly talented player, but I would put him in this category more of being this like huge playmaker on main support. And while I think a lot of teams could use that incredibly effectively and they want more plays made, I actually think that's the opposite of what the Shock wants. I think the Shock, what they really want, especially from the main support position, which is the most natural position in the game to have this sort of role, they want stability on that. And, you know, FD God showed incredible talent last season, but I do think it was really focused on Lucio. Like, he was an incredible top tier Lucio, but that was like noticeably better than his other heroes. And I also think, you know, like what Moth offered to that team was stability, being cool, calm, and collected, you know, having great calls. And it's not to say that FD God can't do that, but that is exactly what I think of when I think of Moth. And it's not exactly what I think of when I think of FD God. They're great players, but they're different. And I would argue that the Shock, with the amount of talent they have, the only way things can go wrong is if it gets too explosive, it gets too crazy. So the one thing they really do want is that cool, calm, and collected presence. I would argue that there's just not a better player than Moth for the Shock. But
I think FD God could be molded though into anything they want. Like if there was a coaching staff and structure on any team to just literally mold a player into what they need, it would be the Shock system.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doubting the team. I think they absolutely are the favorite to win next year. However, I just think if I were the Shock, I would just like wouldn't want to change anything from last year.
I wonder,
I'm a big fan of Moth.
This would be an interesting fit because like they kind of tease they have another player they want to sign. With the kind of what Jake is saying, like it makes sense. Like if they added like a Mercy type of player, right? Somebody who can play that. What if they added somebody like Tobi?
Fucking hell! I mean, that would be insane.
He's a free agent.
How's Tobi's English?
He definitely plays more of the style that Jake is talking about, right? As opposed to being the playmaker. He's a veteran. He's like established. He's like a fan favorite as well. Like it's the type of player the Shock would kind of go for. You would.
I've no idea how his English is though.
A weird position to have.
I don't think he's ever played on a mixed roster.
Yeah, but most of the team is Korean anyway.
Yeah, but they're almost always going to be running with somebody who isn't Korean, at least one in the
lineup.
lineup.
I believe Nero actually probably speaks it pretty well at this point. So
yeah, Nero may speak.
Possible that they could go
Korean.
Default language Korean. It's definitely doable.
I think Guangzhou run with English, right, with their comms.
Yeah,
because
I think Nero would have
running
been
a big mixture
learning a bit, though.
But I think that's the thing. I don't know for sure, but I believe that he would have learned some at least.
Hopefully.
I've seen him posting in Korean.
One would hope.
Well, what I mean is that it doesn't seem like a total stretch for that team to be. I mean, I guess FD God would be the big issue there. I don't think. Maybe FD God learned Korean, but I don't imagine.
But then at that point you're running Tobi, right? So you don't.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
About that too much.
But it does make you question the FD God pickup.
It would be a wild pickup though, because it's like you're taking Tobi, who's constantly been at he's always been like at the top level of Korea, but he's never been like Oh God, what am I searching for here? He's always been a part of the like lunatic high squad, and he's had such a long veteran presence with that team that moving him over to a totally different dynasty feels like you're crossing narrative arcs. It's like the move with Saebyeolbe going over to Seoul Dynasty as well. It's like you're completely crossing the streams of utterly different teams that have always competed against each other, never with each other. So the idea of like mixing them together is
Well, they also, I mean, they did it with
strange.
Twilight, right? They brought Twilight in after
Yeah.
they had all those battles, the previous season.
Battle.
Yeah.
So,
Are Twilight and Violet both re-signed?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they have both those players.
Makes it really hard to figure out what their last, and assuming there's one
Yeah,
more,
who
what
would
their
that
last
even be?
announcement would be, because I was just thinking, man, do they need double flex support for like a Bab Zen style? But no, I mean, they've got Twilight Violet, so
Another
I think it
option.
really could be
Another
any
option,
role,
I
like,
was
at
gonna
this point.
say.
You sure
they
they
still
got
have Tayo.
another announcement to make?
Yeah, they've tweeted about it. Yeah.
I thought they
'Cause they
tweeted
still
that
have
in terms of the Nero pickup.
No, and they tweeted out after that they have another one.
Could be anyone,
So you-
honestly, any role, I think. 'Cause they
Yeah,
have
I mean-
everything they need, like, already.
No, you have on
Both of them.
striker, Nero, and Tayo. I don't think you need another DPS.
Mm.
Be off tank.
Really need another off team besides Choi Ho-bin?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe they're just wondering, like, if the meta is something like Ball Sigma, you know, like it kind of is at the moment, then maybe they
Yeah, I
want.
don't- I
But
don't
then
know.
Smurf's great at the ball. Like that doesn't. I don't know. I can't think what they would really want
Yeah.
from this roster. They've
mean-
already got all the pieces.
Yeah, they can all play
Yeah.
Sigma, all three of those. I think it's
This
pretty
roster
hard.
just screams an embarrassment of riches. They are by
Yeah.
far and away the most stacked team in the league, and the other teams that are trying to compete with them almost pale a little in comparison. Like when you think about how much money the Dallas Fuel must have spent this season in order to get the God squad that they currently have, or someone like the Washington Justice, where they've spent so much on being able to get, you know, Decay and Mag and a bunch of other top Korean players, or even the Seoul Dynasty with the moves that they've made. None of them look as good as the Shock, the defending champions on
Well,
paper.
I mean, they're also always like negotiating out of a position of power with the Shock, right? Because you are the
Yeah.
two-time champion, like back to back. I'm sure some of these players got offers from other teams, but it's like, oh well, you know, look at how many players we see go to a team. They're the most expensive piece or really expensive for that team. They don't perform, and then that player's, you know, back in contenders or a backup somewhere on another team the following season. It's always like, well, hey, you can play here for a really good salary and look good and win while doing it. It'd be a lot harder to keep this team together if they were. I mean, look at what happened in New York, right? It's way harder to keep it together
Yeah.
when you're not winning, but kind of the payroll is a winning type of payroll.
Yeah. This team just looks sick though.
they're
Just
gonna be nuts,
absolutely no
yeah.
concerns.
Let's move on. Houston Outlaws. They've recently signed Crimzo, Happy, and
Yeah.
that was it. It was rumored that they were going to pick up
So-
Nero, but presumably
Yeah,
that didn't pay off.
they've
Like
from the
Go on, Matt.
outside, it seems like they had a little bit of a rough go in free agency because supposedly,
I mean,
they
you say from the outside though, Matt. Crimzo just fired up his stream and started talking about the entirety of the Outlaws' trading plans for the offseason.
Wait,
And
what?
there's like 7 clips on Reddit of Crimzo just talking about all of the different Outlaws, like who they were bidding for, and like.
Oh yeah,
what-
that's what I
what
was
was
going to
going
talk
on.
about. Yeah, that like
Wait,
they were in the
what?
running for they were in the running for Nero, Shu, Moth. They
Yeah.
were like bidding on all these guys, and like they were kind of like a final choice toss up for a lot of them, and then they ended up with none of them.
Yeah,
which
I mean,
is
this
kinda rough.
happens every offseason. Like,
Of course it does, yeah.
There's like
Yeah, one team
multiple teams
always.
fighting over specific players. I know that it's not just Houston and Shock that were bidding over Nero. I mean, there's many more.
Yeah.
And it's presumably the same for Shu and other players. But
Like
yeah,
last year, for example, with the Washington Justice, they were apparently out there, you know, doing big trials, trying to sign
Mhm.
big players, and they ended up with a team that was pretty subpar, honestly.
Fury is a player
at
that
the
comes to
beginning of
mind, I think,
2020.
from last year.
Yeah.
It was hotly contested, presumably this year
Yeah.
as well.
Because
Yeah.
teams also want to go to organizations that they believe that other top players will want to go
mean
to.
players?
There's like this psychology of I want to go somewhere where I think other people will be really good because I want to win. And with Houston being a bit of a like up and down team over the years, they don't. I don't
They're-
think it commands as much respect, even if they're trying to get together an incredible roster as like the Gladiators or
the
the Shockwave.
organization though is heading in the right direction, right? They have like the new ownership group, which kind of came in like I think halfway through last year. You have Cool Matt now in a position of power. You still have Harsha,
Position of power.
Junkbuck.
Junkbuck.
Young Buck, yeah.
You are an organization that's heading very quickly in the right direction, right? I think it's definitely hard though for players to kind of see that upswing without actually seeing it played out.
Yeah, and I mean they're making all the right moves. Like the people that they're
Yes.
bidding over are big players, and also considering that Crimzo's like a second choice, I think people criminally underrate Crimzo. Honestly, the guy's performed much better than I was expecting him to throughout the season, and every time people mention, like flex supports to do really well, it feels like they just run through like the top Korean players in their head, and they kind of forget about Crimzo, who's there putting up big numbers alongside all of them, putting up really consistent performances across every flex support.
As
Yeah,
well.
on a team that wasn't doing well at all, like a team that was kind of sucking. I think this guy's good. I think that he's okay. Maybe he doesn't have the ceiling of somebody like Shu, for example, who we already know can perform at the absolute elite level. But I think Crimzo's a great player to take a bit of a punt on, because at his worst he's going to be average, and at his best you've got like a guy with a ceiling that's really decent.
I mean, I still think they can put together like, okay, you lose out on Nero, right? But there's I mean, you could go after Libero, you could go after Rascal, like in that type of spot. Like, you have options. It's not like the whole sky falls down with Nero going to the Shock. Where I still think the Outlaws can put together a really competitive team, one that we haven't seen that well in a while. Right now, Houston has let's see, this is outdated because it still
Boink's
has
still on the roster.
Huh?
Boink's still on the roster. I didn't even realize that.
Crimzo, Happy,
think he is.
Hydration, and Dante. Boink is still, I think, technically on the roster. We'll see what happens with that, but and then
apparently this is another apparently from Crimzo's stream, as he's just selling the trade secrets. But apparently Hydration's moving back to DPS. Apparently that is the current working
he was playing at the end of
plan.
playoffs, right?
Yeah, for a very small period of time.
I mean, it was
sure.
short, but it still shows. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
it's a big deal to be, if that's what their game plan was going into playoffs, like that they're
So they
not scared
need,
of that.
I think that's a huge important move for them as well, because like next year, if you just stick Hydration on main tank, I feel like you are severely limiting your team. But on DPS, I feel good about it.
So they need a main tank. They need probably
and off. They need a
probably
tank
main
line and a
support.
main support.
Dante on all roles.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, they technically
don't
they technically still have Meko?
Yes.
Isn't there just
he's
a
still
rumor about him
listed.
being traded? I think he's still currently on the Outlaws.
He's still
I
listed.
don't know. It's so hard to keep track of like the status of every player, but I thought Meko was just rumored to be traded or like available, but technically Outlaws.
Well, I'm
still
going off
have
the
it.
Wikipedia page. He's still
I'll
on there.
tell you in a sec.
He's still on there.
His option was declined. He's a free agent, so these are old.
Ah, right, okay.
What is this?
So Meko is
The
free.
Wikipedia is outdated.
Wikipedia's outdated? No way.
That doesn't
Yeah,
shock me.
yeah.
I mean, it's like the off season. There's so many moves. It'd be pretty surprising.
Yeah,
if every
I mean,
Wikipedia
I
page
can't
was
even keep track.
current. To
So they don't
things
have.
posted on
So
Twitter
this
yesterday.
team needs so many slots.
I mean, you
It
could
does,
go
yeah.
after somebody like Stand One, who just got let go from
Mm-hmm.
Shanghai.
I mean, personally, I just think overall with the Outlaws, it's exciting to see them go for the full rebuild. I think that's something that was needed on this team and was like honestly just late. Like probably should have happened last year. From my perspective, I guess that's harsh, but my real perspective leaving the Outlaws was like massive change was needed for that team to succeed. And I think, as you were saying, Matt, like with Cool Matt in the position of power, with the new ownership empowered in the new season, I'm excited. I think it's like growing pains, but it's like something that had to happen. Like there was no way a lot of these players in the roster were going to have a major competitive success. We're going to be title contenders. It's just not realistic.
You
I don't
knew
think
you
any
hit
of
your
us-
peak.
Hmm?
Like that roster knew it had hit its peak, and like everybody else was just improving. So like running it back again was not going to see it improve. It was just going to kind of be like a weird version of itself, like an older.
I don't think
weird
anybody
version of itself.
anybody here would defend keeping those players. But they're in a precarious position because like they have been kind of outbidded for a lot of the key pieces that were up here. Now it's literally going to come down to a lot of raw scouting to try and plug in the gaps, right? And get a roster that can hold its own. Which, to be fair, I mean they've got the scaffolding there. Like the players they've got are pretty good.
And you got somebody like Junkbuck. So as far as running that process, there's not many people out there who I really think are great at something like that. But that I would have a lot of confidence in. But Junkbuck, having worked with him on one of the Team USA situations a couple years ago, on tryouts and stuff, he definitely strikes me as that kind of person. Everyone from the Shock has said like glowing things about Junkbuck and how great he was at bringing structure to the team, like before Krusty came. So to me, I think that's pretty, like, if you're in that position of making a full rebuild, that's like more than any individual player winning a bidding war. That's the position you need power on, is like the coach, the person running the show. Yeah. So with Coolman and Junkbuck there, and Harsha as well, like I just think that's the actual smart investment beyond signing a player is making the structure functional.
They'll be able to build a good team over time. They just need the opportunity.
I think that's really important, though, for fans to realize as we come into this season, too, is because Houston have always been a team that you felt pretty decent about, but then would have somewhat of a middling to below average, like slightly disappointing for their fans kind of performance. But coming into next year, it might be easy to see that happening again, but for all different reasons. But because North America just looks stacked for 2021. Like the teams at the top are just ridiculous. Like you would have to be scouting ridiculously in order to compete with those teams if you're not willing to spend outrageous amounts of money. And so I think it's unreasonable to expect Houston to be in a, top 5 position in North America, for example. Even maybe in the top half of North America might be an unreasonable expectation, even if this team has made all of the right moves and looks to be improving in a completely positive trajectory. They might still look at the end of the season to be a bit disappointing if you aren't aware of like where your expectations should be for 2021.
Yeah, I mean, think about how many powerhouse lineups you have in North America right now. San Francisco, we just covered. The Gladiators, everything they've done this offseason with, they get Moth, the Muse shoe, right? That kind of like transforms that team. Dallas, the Justice, what they've done with like Fury and Decay and Mag. The Philadelphia, right? I mean, their team is still good. Florida was really strong last year. Like you're already like 5-6 deep. And then that's before you kind of like look at what's going on with Toronto and like Atlanta and some of the additions they've made. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be the NA is going to be really, really competitive next year.
What I would love to see for the Houston Outlaws is there's like a middle of the pack, which includes teams like the Atlanta Reign, potentially New York, depending on what they end up doing.
Valiant.
The Valiant, and then did I already say Atlanta? Yeah, Atlanta and Florida maybe is the last one there as well. Yeah. That are like middle of the pack teams. Those are the teams where Houston should be really competing with, I think, where they have a chance to beat any of them if they continue from this foundation that they've got and build out like a good tank line to support it. They can beat any of those teams.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Full dynasty.
I thought I was dreaming when I saw this shit.
Dude, we were playing WoW. And I was like, I saw it pop up on Twitter and I was like, yo, I said it in the Discord and everybody was like, went quiet for a second. Was like, wait, what the fuck did you say? I was like, yeah. Saebyeolbe and Anamo to Seoul Dynasty.
It does feel like a bit of a weird fan service pickup, but it's like legit.
I mean, I don't agree. Fan service, that's good pickups for them. That's what
I mean. That's what I'm saying. It feels like a fan service pickup because the backlash when they dropped Saebyeolbe was so immense from the NYXL fans.
Well, of course.
And like picking him up, it feels like almost a fan service move, but like the guy is still able to compete at the highest level. He's still that leadership figure in a team. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Of him in the Seoul jersey.
Well, I mean, it's something that had to happen, right? Seoul Dynasty, Saebyeolbe, it just like it needed to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked on this. I think this was a sick pickup, both for the exciting presence for the fans, but beyond that, I think this is a team that there were so many unexpectedly great players on this team. Like maybe a lot of people knew, okay, of course, Profit's going to have sick games here, but I think especially their tank line had an amazing performance last season. I mean, it's easy to forget that they're like the second best team. That they, you know, like Shanghai, everyone, oh, it's just gonna be Shanghai versus Shock, but it wasn't, right? And I think that in and of itself shows that this team has the potential. And then you put in, you know, a veteran like Saebyeolbe and you know, an additional main support in the form of Anamo. You know, hard to know. I mean, I think it's really, really hard to judge something like main support when you don't speak the language, because it's so critical of like understanding how that player communicates, what kind of presence they are on the team, to understand that role. So I don't know. Can't say much about that pickup in particular, but I think Saebyeolbe, or not Saebyeolbe, but Seoul is making the right moves to be a championship contender next season for real.
For me, like the Saebyeolbe pick, I think is like great, because this is a team that needs like somebody to be the leader, like somebody who actually wants to lead. Like there's one thing to be the captain and like be the best player on the team, but that necessarily doesn't mean you're like the leader of a team. I guess it's like the best way you can explain it without actually kind of like being on a team to understand the dynamic. But like Saebyeolbe like wants to be like the leader of a team. And I think that's something that Seoul was kind of missing. And I think that's something that even that London Spitfire team, which is really strong with like Gesture and Profit and whatnot, they kind of missed that as well. They didn't really kind of have like this real like rock, somebody like calm everybody down, somebody to be the leader of the squad.
They had Badosin, but I don't think he fulfills the same. If you look at like the Venn diagram of qualities between Saebyeolbe and Badosin, it's, you know, it's the calling, right? But I understand what you're getting at, Matt. It's like the veteran presence, the guy who literally is able to tell you when you're just getting 112 on fucking Rialto, you got a 3-minute time bank against you to turn it around and say.
And the guy's just a fucking legend, man.
Yeah.
Like how many times have like we seen Saebyeolbe? Like I can just remember like some of the games that I've casted. Like it was like a Lijiang Tower game, and the guy on Tracer just takes like insane duels on the point and like OT. Like the guy's so clutch. He's just unreal.
He's always been a player who turns it up in OT, and there's nothing more exciting than that as far as watching a player. There's exciting superstar players, but somebody who just like is just like does more damage when the overtime wick starts burning. It's like, I wish I had that stat buff on my Tracer. It's pretty sick to see. So Saebyeolbe in overtime is like, come on, man, you got to root for this guy.
Yeah, they released Tobi as well. Go on, Josh. What were you gonna say?
I wanted to talk about Saebyeolbe a bit more as well, though, because I really hope that he gets invigorated by this addition to the Seoul Dynasty, because it felt like on New York, ever since the end of 2018, you know, there was that thing where he thought about retiring in 2019 when GOATS was going on, and he was just sat on the bench for ages. And then this year he got some play time, but he wasn't in the game all the time, and he also wasn't playing at his peak. And I think I tweeted this out and I said, I hope that he rediscovers his prime with the Seoul Dynasty. And by that, I mean his passion and his ability to play the heroes at his absolute peak potential as well. I think there's been like a running narrative that Saebyeolbe hasn't really gotten worse, or he's not been in a slump. It's just that the league's gotten better. You know, there's just better players all around him. But I don't really believe that. I think when you look at like how other players that he competed with in 2018 have maintained their relevancy, people like, if you bring up his number one hero is Tracer, like Striker is still absolutely at the top when it comes to Tracer gameplay. And Saebyeolbe had glimpses of that this year whenever he was able to play it, but he's never really been like straight back up there at the top. And I think that he still has the potential to be able to play up at the top. Maybe not on every hero possible. Maybe he's not like as cracked as some of the other guys when it comes to the long range hit scan. But when it comes to the Tracer and these other smaller niche picks of his, he's absolutely up there. If he believes that he can get back to the top, he will be back to the top, I think.
And to go deeper into the team dynamic, you know, you don't need somebody like that who's like a veteran, a leader on the team. You don't need them to start every game, because in my opinion, like obviously there's that effect you guys talked about. Oh, it's overtime. You know, you're in a bad spot and you need somebody who's calm and collected in the match. Sure, that's important, but you also need somebody who is like out there every day when you're practicing, who is just a part of the spirit, the mentality of the team. And I think that influence can be felt in terms of not even getting to that spot where you're, you know, down and in a bad spot in the match, right? Because the team has practiced in a more effective way. They've built a more effective communication structure. They feel more connected to each other because of that presence. So part of it you might not even ever see, even if Saebyeolbe, let's say he's not starting all the time. Let's say he's more of a niche player, like you said, on stuff like Tracer and Sombra. I don't think that means that Seoul isn't getting what they want out of him. I think in order to understand that, you'd have to ask the players and you'd have to know what's going on behind the scenes, because reality is that, in my opinion, that's more important than somebody who's going to stay calm in a tough spot in a match, which, I think is almost expected at this point, given the professionalization of the league.
Yeah.
A lot more players are going to be able to do that, but who's going to be leading the team in the right direction when the season is not going well? That I think is like the more valuable thing than the match, the individual instance.
Yes.
Have they made changes again? I ask this so often. Have they made changes to the coaching staff on Seoul?
They made changes at the GM level. If
not the coaching level?
correct. Their GM was Ho Curry. Yeah, not anymore though.
Wizard Hyung also left the team though too.
Wizard Hyung also left. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So they haven't made any additions.
Not that I'm aware of. No.
So off the top of my head, no.
The Liquipedia says that the data analyst was promoted to coach, but I mean, who the fuck knows what that really entails?
And when I look at the history of Seoul and New York as organizations, I feel like they have been failed starting there when it comes to kind of like the direction of a team in a lot of ways. And I know people gave KDG a lot of credit when he was coaching Seoul for like his managing of the two sides of the roster, but if you just look even, I don't know, more recently as to this year, it's felt like you've never really gotten what we expected out of the roster. For New York especially so. So I'm hoping that, I think the Saebyeolbe move to Seoul is good, alongside Anamo as well, I will say. But I'm hoping that we don't just get a repeat where they aren't going to meet their potential, where they're just left kind of like in this inconsistent rut, where they are, maybe 1 week they're doing really, really fucking well. Like Seoul literally last year, it felt like they were alternating between weeks of when to play and turn up and when to just flop. And I don't want to see that happen again. I want this to be a bit of a redemption arc for Saebyeolbe in some ways, or like this is his almost redeeming moment where he can move to a new org, a new team, get that reinvigoration in him, like you were saying, Josh. If he can play up to that top level, but I think it does start at the coaching level. For me personally, and I think that's going to be the big question mark I have looking at them for this season for 2021.
Yeah, I think maybe Saebyeolbe though can be that like force, like Jake was saying though, that kind of gets them to focus day in and day out. I think Seoul is probably a team that could kind of fluctuate with effort from week to week and day to day in terms of practice, in terms of what the meta is and how they're really vibing with it. Where maybe Saebyeolbe could kind of take those like ups and downs and those crazy peaks and kind of try and make it more of a consistent daily approach.
Yeah. Everyone take a shot, by the way, if you're got a apple juice. Where's Matt gone? Oh.
Hugo is just barking at the door. So I've acquired him.
I think people play a drinking game now with the Plat Chat episodes, and one of them is me mentioning coaching staff in any capacity.
Well, I know. What I love about the Bren coaching staff thing is you always bring up the coaching staff without actually knowing who the coach is. You just refer to them ominously as this coaching staff.
Well, I do know that they were quite shit over the last couple of years.
Dark cloud over the league, just the coaching staff.
Yeah, because I know the impact it can have on a team. Like I've spoken to good coaches. I've spoken to players who have been coached by good coaches. And we now know, we've had enough seasons to see the impact of it. Don't make me go on this rant again, Matt. Listen, I'll slap you back.
You're just trying to
belittle
some of these coaches to become a coach.
If I was a coach, that team would be fucking winning everything. I'm telling you now. I'd be in there. I'd be like, right, boys.
Jake just was like,
get the bananas going, eh? I'll be there slapping you on the back. Go on, Jake, get in there, son. Go on, son. Get in there. Your mouth's all right. You need anything? Bottle of water?
Get in there. Your mouth's all right. You said you're describing a water boy, not necessarily a coach.
No cap. I think I'd be a great head coach. Listen,
yeah.
I just basically what I'd do is I'd hire a bunch of unknown coaches as assistant coaches below me that did all the work, and then I would claim credit.
I think the key to coaching in esports is that it's so fundamentally different from coaching in traditional sport, because there's a reality that like if you're a coach in a traditional sport, you generally do know the game better than the best players in the game, or at least as well, maybe as like the best, most cerebral players, because maybe you were that competitive player back in the day, studied the game for literally decades. But I just think that's not true in esports. I think the relationship between coach and player has to be different than traditional sports, where it shouldn't be, in my opinion, top-down command and control. the coach is running things for you, and vice versa. It shouldn't be the coach has, no confidence and no input, and the players just run the show. It has to be this dynamic relationship where the coach is working to help the players maximize their own understanding. But there's a reality that, like, when the game changes drastically month to month, and there's things like, we had hero pools last season. We have balance change. We have, new heroes. Obviously, probably we're not getting any more until Overwatch 2, right? That's what's been said. But like, the game just changes so drastically, and it's like 4 or 5 years old. There are if you're a coach, I think if you go one way or the other, both of those are deeply wrong. Trying to run the show and trying to let the players make their own decisions. You have to have this unique balance of input without overruling people. And I think there's not many people who can do that right.
Yeah, the most batshit thing is when I hear like teams where coaches are just like forcing teams to play a certain way. It's like, well, you have professional players on your roster. Like the coach should be somebody exactly like you mentioned, Jake, where like they mediate like arguments between the group, right? And just kind of provide an outside, unbiased perspective on what they're seeing in the game and be additive to the overall team. Like if you think a coach is going to come in and just teach these players how to play a different way, that's not going to happen. You have the wrong players then. You have
I disagree. I don't think that's correct. I think that in a game like Overwatch, you can learn how to play a certain style, and it's just the wrong style for that meta. Like, I think that there's some times where you're going to want a player to play in a different way, to either play more aggressively to open up some space, or to take resources from the rest of their team. And that's the coach's job, to take a player that has an inclination to play in one style and show them game tape of other people and how to maximize more out of their game. Like, these players aren't out here watching tape of other people in order to improve. Players don't do that, really. So that's the coach's job, in my opinion, to look outside the box of just the player's blink-o-visioned own perspective, to like open their eyes to other ways of being able to play the game. I think that is a primary role of a coach.
Well, I think what you're describing is that exactly that bilateral relationship where the coach is offering input and helping the player to improve, but it comes from a place of understanding that the player has a very advanced understanding of the game.
Oh yeah,
you're
right.
The reality is that you don't want to just like come in with like, this is how the game is to be played. It's an adjustment from what exists, right? Like, the player plays a certain way, like you're saying, Josh. Like, they already have this natural inclination. Well, let me give you some ways to maximize that inclination. Yeah. Or let me tune that inclination to the certain meta or the certain style. We need a little bit more aggression out of you. We need you to be a little bit slower this meta. That, I think, totally fits. But I think that is exactly that bilateral relationship where you aren't coming in, the coach is like, all right, here's the proper way to play this hero. And just
right. That's what I hear more of goes on.
You do this, and then, okay, let's tune you. Let's adjust you. And I think that's what the best coaches do, is adjust what's already there until it just fits a little bit better than before, I just think what you can't do is try to just come in with a pre-existing structure and just overlay that on, like, just treat your players as total putty and they can just do whatever you want them to do. Play like this, play like this team, play like this team. It's like, that doesn't work, in my opinion. You can say, we can learn from this team. We can adjust like this.
So much of that, though, in like the coaching role currently. Like, I
don't think we do that, Matt. I think we have a lot of coaches that just don't do anything.
Yeah, I think that's by far the more common problem, is people understand that the players know more than them, and they can't offer anything at all other than keep practicing.
I guess I hear it from one perspective, because like I hear from like players where they just kind of, in a way, tune their coach out because their coach is basically just trying to tell them how to play the game when they're not. I don't want to say they're not qualified to tell them, but they kind of are not qualified to tell them like how to play the game. Like,
the understanding of like what you're saying, Jake, about like not going too far into the one way, which is like the fully authoritarian style. I think in some cases the head coach or like a coach in a team needs that authority, but where it comes from isn't the coach imposing their will upon the players. It is literally a two-way street of communication and gaining that respect from the players through again, just like the understanding of the game and work ethic, and showing them something outside of their POV, which a lot of coaches don't do. But yeah, it's a really interesting topic. So I think that's about 20 shots.
They're too busy cashing fat checks to look over those clips.
Yeah, all of our drinking game Plat Chat fans have now died of alcohol poisoning.
No.
We'll not
apple juice.
The next...
They're drinking apple juice.
They drink apple juice, Jake. Come on.
Witnessing the next section of Plat Chat.
They released Tobi as well. Soul did to get back on track with the Seoul Dynasty.
Well,
So
to be clear, I think it was Tobi's decision, right?
I'm not
sure.
sure, but I mean, whatever. They
believe so.
departed. They parted ways. Is that a politer way of saying it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the best way of saying it is, but I don't know why Tobi decided to leave. That's like that's the mystery. Because if it was Tobi's decision, which I believe
Tobi's
is correct,
decision? Do
then
we know?
Maybe he wants to start somewhere else.
Possibly. I mean, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. This is such a long-standing player, and one of the last remaining members of Lunatic High on this squad as well.
Isn't he the last?
He was the last. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Get him on the shock. Let him just win one, and then.
What you about to say? Get him
retire.
on the show, and I was like, what?
Fly him out
get him on the shock.
It really is another end of a dynasty, though, as well.
Yeah,
I know that's a fucking meme, considering I'm talking about Seoul, but Lunatic High was the first real. You can't really call it an era. They didn't particularly have an era, but the back-to-back wins in Apex and the fact that they were the most respected team within the Korean region, which was the best at the time, and these players were all legendary and not just pushed their team forwards, but pushed the game forwards. They were literally pushing Overwatch forwards, and the roles that they played, like Nero advanced the role of Winston as a main tank, and Tobi advanced the role of Lucio visibly over the course of months. He was pushing the game forwards. So it's very sad to see them all depart. It's a pretty similar situation to like a lot of parallels are always drawn between the old Seoul Dynasty roster and the old Dallas Fuel roster, where they came in and they're supposed to be so excellent and they just kind of dwindle slowly over time and peter out. But I think the Lunatic High story is a little sadder, how they were supposed to represent Seoul, and their players are all still individually pretty good, but they had so many issues over time, and they've just kind of piece by piece drifted away.
2018 season, didn't they have 6 coaches?
You think it's sadder than Dallas?
Yeah, because Dallas immediately became just a fucking mess. Like, immediately. It was just a mess.
Do you remember
Whereas
2018
the Seoul Dynasty
Dallas
has been
Fuel?
a slow...
Oh, I had a good time. I had a good time with
Has
that.
it been a slow burn, though? Like,
We don't talk to
like
Custa about that
person
one.
to blow up
To
was
maintain
Nero,
to
right?
maintain our friendship, I don't speak to Custa about those times.
like, I mean, what Miro? Like, if I was a fan, I would have rather seen the quick death of Dallas than see my favorite players just die over a long period of time. Where like you had to watch Miro in season 1, then you had to watch Ryu Jae Kong on the Winston, the Jae Hong Winston.
Ryu Jae Kong.
You didn't want any of this, and you had to watch it for a while. Like,
I'm not saying it was better though, Matt. I'm saying it was sadder. I think it was definitely sadder for Lunatic High and for the Seoul Dynasty fans, because the
painful death is the worst,
pressure on them.
right?
Yeah, it was a slow, drawn out death where
Dallas
they still
ripped
had
the Band-Aid
expectations
off.
on them.
And then they just kept pouring salt in the wound until now. They really just got it treated.
I mean, Tobi and Jae
the
was
body
still
is gone. It's like a new. It's just like there's no wounded body. It's just like we threw that out in the trash. Here it is. This is the new Dallas Fuel.
Yeah.
Tobi and Jae were still so gutted by their failed performances that they were like openly weeping on broadcast last year. Was that just last year?
No, that was
Wasn't
the last year
before
the
last?
Arena.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I meant. It was 2019. Yeah, but it was towards the end of 2019. Like that is painful to see. Like Esker not joining the Overwatch League right at the beginning, Miro fall into pieces, and then the slow kind of. It was like they had too much weight on their shoulders, and they just were slowly crumbling under the pressure. And this is just the final piece has now ended up leaving this Seoul Dynasty. It's a sad tale. It's gutting.
That'll be the first Overwatch 30 for 30. You'll look at the first match between the Dallas Fuel and the Seoul Dynasty in season 1 and be like, where are these players now? It's like Mickey's streaming a Wild Rift on mobile at like 4 a.m. I've seen that a few times. Yeah, he's playing League of Legends mobile at 4
I think
a.m.
Mickey's doing fine. Whenever I look at his Instagram, he's on a boat somewhere or skiing. Like,
Yeah,
I think he's all right.
living good, man.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. It is. To get back on the point though, this is the end of an era, and I've only just realized as well. I've stopped saying dynasty. Started saying dynasty.
Yeah, same. I've been
Americanized.
perverted.
I remember yeah, anyway, go on.
The other part of this is that Anamo has joined Seoul, right?
Yeah.
Like he always gets overlooked in these discussions because Saebyeolbe joined and he's way more interesting to talk about. But Anamo is now directly replacing Tobi, and I saw a lot of people talking about this as if it was a massive downgrade, which I don't believe it is. I mean, I don't believe that it's a massive downgrade. I think that, I mean, I don't even understand really how you could consider this a significant downgrade. I think both of them have been pretty decent over the course of the season on a bunch of different roles as well. Have I just missed the fact that Tobi was playing like a god at some point? I know that he was playing pretty well towards the end of the season, but I think Anamo's had his moments.
I literally think it is there's like the subsection of fan bases where that you've got the old Seoul fans. Yeah, you know what I mean. I think I think it's the emotional attachment to these players, and people see these replacements coming in, and they're just like, "What the fuck? No, Tobi's way better." You know, it's.
I think if you can't speak and understand Korean, you don't know the internal dynamics of a team. It's just ridiculous to try to judge a main support player.
Exactly.
I mean, unless a player is just like blatantly feeding or something, they're just absolutely terrible. Like you could judge that negatively, but like players who have played, like you guys said, decently well. What actually matters in a professional environment is the strategy and communication of that role. So that's why I can praise a player like Moth, because I know he's really great at that. I play with him in like tryouts for Team USA. I play with him personally before. Like I know those things about him, but I don't know those things about Anamo and Tobi. So I mean, to have any strong judgment one way or the other is patently ridiculous about this role, unless you have some serious inside information, because you cannot judge this role from the outside.
You don't know Tobi like I do.
Yeah, I don't. No, actually, I do, because neither of us know Tobi.
Yeah.
Like, none of the English-speaking fans know what he offers to the team in the game.
I think it's also
it's
just
a communication role.
I think it's like sad NYXL fans as well that have been disappointed over the course of multiple seasons, even though Animal's been a pretty good player. They've just kind of lost faith in everyone on New York, I think. So whenever they join somewhere else, they just don't believe that they're going to be able to succeed.
Remove your emotions, sheeple. Only look at the facts and figures.
Facts and logic.
Yeah, I think there's not really much more to add on this other than like I think it's not necessarily a side grade, but like Anamo has just I think never had the opportunity to shine when he was been playing on New York. But he's never looked bad, and hopefully this move will be only beneficial for these players and New York. Unless anybody else wants to add anything else, a little hot take, throw it in there.
No.
Okay.
No.
Toronto. That's a region. 6 God. You know what I'm talking about? Rapping.
No, never heard of him.
Drill. Woi.
Sure.
Brent's got me
Heesu,
into Dave recently.
Oh, you've been listening to Dave?
I have been listening to Dave. In the gym, man, there's nothing better.
Yeah.
Little
Dave
drill.
as in the comedy channel from the UK, the comedy TV.
No, it's in the
grime.
The grime artist.
Yeah.
His music is not. It's not very traditional grime though. He does some like drill, but yeah, Dave's just good. He's just good.
It is just good, actually.
Heesu and Michelle gone to Toronto.
Heesu, Michelle, and Dave to Toronto.
Yeah. I mean, Dave's not from Toronto.
Heesu was absolutely filthy last season on the hit scan.
I think Heesu was criminally underrated, and I think it's from the Philly fans.
Oh yeah, because people just love Carpe, which is not wrong. I mean, Carpe is amazing, but like if Heesu is starting over Carpe, guys, these teams do not start players for fun. You know, like you start players because you think you're going to win you the game. So clearly, Heesu is having better performances than Carpe in practice if they're starting him over Carpe on Widow. Like that is the only reason you would ever do that on a role like Widow that is heavily performance focused.
Yeah,
not very much communication really on the role. Heesu's just performing better, and like, well, I mean, it went back and forth, right? But for Heesu to be like on a comparable level to Carpe is like you can't like.
We'll send that message back to September earlier this year, and hopefully it will make its way through the fucking internet or something.
Yeah,
get into the Philly players' ears. I think these are reasonable pickups. Like the Michelle is a little bit okay, but I feel like Michelle also was another example of a player that I feel like was a bit mismanaged in terms of their performances. They had some great moments in 2019 early on, from what I remember. Or maybe I'm just like cherry picking some moments in my mind of Michelle. But I feel like there's something there with Michelle at least. I know Heesu can perform.
Yeah.
Josh, you disagree?
I thought Michelle was pretty decent, but what I generally tend to hear about Michelle is a bit of overhyping, I think, because they had really good performances playing Sombra back in the Sombra Goats meta.
Oh God, yeah.
And I think people have kind of put that in the same folder in their brain as Michelle's off-tank gameplay and just lumped it all into Michelle, and then haven't really separated the two and thought about, well, he's not going to be playing that. The flexibility of Michelle is not going to be demonstrated in any sense if he's on the main tank, if he's on the off tank. So now you just have to consider his off tank performances, and he's serviceable. He's not bad. I think though that this is basically exactly what we were expecting this team to do. Right? We knew that they were rumored to be signing Heesu and Michelle. We talked about this last week as well. It's a big upgrade for their roster, but the question is always going to be: is it enough to actually crack into the like big boy lineups, which I'm not convinced it is good enough to crack into the big boy tier, but it's pretty good.
It's good enough though, I think, to kind of be in that Valiant Outlaw range though, like we were talking about. Like they can beat some of those teams probably, right?
I mean, I think they could even punch a little higher up. They might be punching around
Florida
the level
Mayhem,
of the Gladiators and Florida Mayhem and stuff. Yeah.
How big of a rebuild? Toronto's going for a pretty major rebuild, right? With like a lot of players drop. So I feel like with these pickups, like I'm optimistic, but too soon to tell, right? Like we need to know more about. It's basically, was it just Logics they kept?
I mean, re-signed
Beast
from like
yeah, they had Beast
last year.
Yeah, I think Beast is playing really well. He's been pounding on the rank ladder, so I mean, he's still grinding, still working hard. Like I like a pickup like that.
It's a very strange roster that they're creating.
I'm kind of with you, Matt, on your kind of position of where this team should be expecting. Because I think early on, at least in the offseason, we all had the idea or the approach in our minds that this is a team that was going to be built like a super team. Do you remember way back at the start of the offseason, we were talking like, oh, there's only going to be like 3-4 teams building super teams this year. Everyone's going budget. And then what ends up happening is the team slowly realize, oh, all these good pieces are available. Maybe I can upgrade my kitchen cabinet. Maybe I can get a new tap. And then next thing you know, you've got a good team that you're, oh God, we just spent all this money. Oh my God. I feel like that happens to teams often. But for Toronto, I think if they ended the season just underneath teams like Washington, Shock, Philly, I think they could be quite pleased with that kind of finish. Like that's almost a peak as of right now, looking at this roster. And I struggle to see where the pieces are for them to punch higher than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I also think that they might not be done with this roster either.
No, of course they're not done. Yeah, they've got so much more to do. But like,
they got like 5 players.
Yeah, like what more? Like where are they going to be picking up these players? Because if you pick them up from contenders, that's a bit of a risk.
I think you have to go to contenders though at this point. I mean, unless you're gonna add like Rascal to this team, Glister to this team.
Toronto earned 35 grand.
You know, who even else do you have that you would be looking to make significant upgrades from, like pre-existing Overwatch League players? They don't really exist, but there is a wealth of potential options in Korean contenders. And the thing with that is, if you just pick up a bunch of them, you're bound to hit on like at least 1 or 2. So if you wanted to just pack out the rest of your roster, you sign another off tank to see whether they perform better than Michelle. You sign another support in case Aztec or Unsuj doesn't work, and you throw in a couple of DPS players as well. Like I think that's a pretty reasonable way of just beefing up this roster a bit, making sure that even if one piece doesn't hit, you have a backup.
Sure. You have any thoughts on this, Jake?
Well, I think it's definitely an exciting roster, like you guys said, but like too soon to tell. Need to get those final pickups in to know like the overall strength. And I mean, I think what this shows is that really there's going to be a lot of shakeups in the standings this season. Like in terms of like different teams coming up, different teams falling down and struggling because, as you guys said, with all the talk of the budget, well, it didn't end up really materializing. A lot of teams are fielding strong rosters. They look strong, they look competitive, look aggressive. So I think what it comes down to is like the reality is that these everyone wants to win, like no matter what, like no one's gonna give up, like, oh whatever, we're just gonna be a mediocre team. Then you shouldn't even be doing this. You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't be running a team if you want to just be mediocre. And especially for the players, like no player wants to join a team that doesn't care unless it's like their only choice to get to the Overwatch League. And even those teams end up getting hungry because they end up with some players who are like desperate to compete, desperate to play. and even the teams going super budget are going to wind up with very hard workers. And you can't underestimate in a game that changes so fast as like esports, what it means to have those young, hungry players, with the right squad, maybe add some veterans in, add some superstars in, the right mix. Like there have been players like Shockwave comes to mind, just who come out really strong and pop off. And you can't just write somebody off because they're new to the league, especially with all our players who are like 17 or something. They literally were not in contention until now. So you can't even we don't know what their potential is, especially the younger players who are just aging in. That's going to be a new crop every single year of
and they're normally
potentially
better.
Great players.
It's so weird how it works in Overwatch. Like that doesn't really work in any other esport that I've seen, where
it's
you can just pick up rookies.
Limit, right?
Yeah, like you can just you could almost pick up a brand new team of rookies and you would be at least average in the Overwatch League every single year. Like that's so weird. There's no other esport where you could do that. The turnover is extremely high. These players are getting better and better and better.
Game's so young. I mean, there's still room to get better. Like the game's not solved. Far from it.
No,
that's super good point. Actually, you look at a lot of esports because they've been around so long that it's getting almost maximized down to just being played so efficiently. But what you said, Overwatch so young in comparison. Like I mean, to tie it to Valorant recently, looking at that game. It's kind of crazy to see the meteoric improvements of the teams and players in a game that young, but it's because the fundamentals are so similar to a game like Counter-Strike. Whereas Overwatch wasn't really a game like it. So we are seeing we're still seeing the improvements year on year. Good point. I could see Toronto being quite similar to kind of like Florida when they retooled their roster and started seeing success towards, I suppose this year they had very significant success. I could definitely see that kind of situation unfolding for a team like Toronto.
I can as well. Like a team that we think that just like overperforms where we originally had thought.
Yeah, or maybe we're just underestimating them. We'll see. We'll see. Shanghai Dragons have made some significant changes. Actually, Molly has been picked up. This guy I always thought was underrated as fuck. This guy is actually pretty sick. And Shanghai have released Stand 1 as well, which is quite interesting, although I am not surprised, which is weird to say.
Yeah, I know.
Given the fact that... you say...
well, they also lost Fearless, right? So
yeah, who are they?
Well, I mean, that's why we're saying,
because it's fucking... It's Moon and Fate's little reunion party, and they've booted out all the other tanks.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm scared.
I'm a believer in Fate, though, to be fair. I really think Fate is a very strong player, and I think maybe even underrated.
Well, here's the thing. Think about the situation this year that occurred, right? When Stand 1 was playing, it was you could just from the eye test alone. You don't even need to watch the games. You can look at statistically speaking, they lost so many maps when Stand 1 was playing, and when Fearless was playing full time, Shanghai looked really, really solid. Like there was an immediate turn when that happened.
Yes, there was.
So,
but that wasn't because Stand 1 was playing. Like Stand wasn't feeding. He wasn't a bad main tank at all. It just wasn't the same fit for the team as playing with Fearless.
Wasn't what they needed at the time. And if they feel like that's still not the direction they want to go in, then so be it, right? But I think...
I mean, Fate's a huge caller and leader. So, I mean, I could see having a main tank that they never sub out being exactly what a team like Shanghai needed. In terms of, like, getting locked in consistency, not trying to plan for, like, okay, Fearless is going to come into play, Dan's going to come into play, Orisa or whatever. Like,
do you not think that there's a concern, Jake, when you have a pre-existing way that your team works and you add in a new main shot caller?
I think you're absolutely right to be concerned about that. However, I do think like given the other tools on the roster, I think the number one thing that everyone has talked about Fleta for rightly is that he can just do anything. Like there's no limits on this player. He's not special. I mean, he's like not specialized, like which is crazy to say with how incredibly good he is. So, I mean, he's like this freak tool who feels like you can just use him any way you need to just like make success in any meta. So, I still rate Fate really highly. I think a lot of people question him or doubt him, but having played with him, I think his calls are really sharp, on point. He's very confident with calling. He's not gonna ever experience indecision. I don't know what to do. Like he's gonna make a call and be decisive with it. And if Shanghai can find the right style so that those calls are like correct, not just confident, but also correct, then I think this team could be really dangerous because that was their issue, was consistency, right? Like they always had these absurd performances, especially out of Fleta on DPS. But if you add in, like, I think you're right to say it could go wrong. It could just be like a misfit. But honestly, knowing like what I know about these players, which is limited, I tend to believe that they're going to be able to adapt just fine, especially given that they're making a commitment here. It's like it's going to be Fate starting always on main tank.
Yeah.
And what that unless that's like a complete abject failure, which I just don't think it will be because I have confidence in their players. Then I think the team could just grow and grow and grow. Like there might not be where they were at the end of last season off the bat, but I think they have a big headroom.
I think they're still going to be pretty good though. Like I've just taken a look at the roster. My one concern is like I'm worried that Molly is just not going to see playtime, being the only Mandarin speaker.
He does speak Korean. They confirmed this recently. Yep.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, he speaks Korean well enough to be able to com. There was actually a big thread from the Guangzhou Charges. What the fuck are they? COO or something? Chief Operating Officer, I think it was their title. What's his name? Eddie Meng, I think it is. I could be totally wrong there, but he tweeted a bunch of stuff of like the Chinese players that they've worked with are all very good when it comes to languages, fit in really, really well, very dedicated, hardworking. There aren't really any problems with getting visas for them, although they have like some issue with having multiple entry visas, but that can be worked around. And he basically had like a Twitter chain of basically saying, if you're looking for foreign talent, as in you're looking for like some kind of Asian talent, don't just limit yourself to Korea. Like also think about these Chinese players as well, because they are very good, and the infrastructure that you need to put into place in order to make use of them is actually less than you might think.
who was it?
So that's interesting.
It was the Valiant who trialed a bunch of players, and they wanted to pick up a
Linkzr. They wanted to pick up Linkzr instead of Rain. Or rather, they wanted to pick up Linkzr, but then Rain was slightly better, so they ended up going with Rain, I think.
Yeah, but Linkzr was one of the outstanding tryout players. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's interesting that teams just don't really look towards that direction, I suppose, because I'm sure. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the region itself has some standout players on certain roles. Molly, I think, was Molly was the one player in my mind I always kept in terms of just being underrated. I think they were tucked away on Chengdu because Chengdu just had this fucking shield of memes. It felt like just protecting them from criticism and other shit. But Molly was just kind of just there, consistently performing very well statistically speaking, and just a really good flex support player. So I'm excited to see where this goes, and I'm actually quite pleased to hear that he can com in Korean. Sorry. So,
yeah, they put out a thing as well where I guess like the rumor where everybody was saying he was signed as a two-way player. But they clarified that he's not.
Okay. And
they like kind of they almost made it sound like they wanted to start him as well. So we'll see. But
he's damn good. He could start for this team even over Izayaki, assuming that there are no problems with comms and that the style fits and stuff. I think this is a great pickup because not only do you then actually just acquire another really good flex support, you're also picking one up that presumably not many other people were even looking at. So you didn't have to worry too much about like whether or not you could sign them. You got your pick of the litter there. But you are the Shanghai team, and you've managed to actually get a Chinese player that you are going to field, or at least has possibility to be fielded.
Yeah.
So that's a huge pickup for Shanghai, for both for their fan base and for their player, their team, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
I see these rumors you put in, Matt. Kind of don't want to go over them. Do you want to go? Do you guys want to go over them?
What are
because I feel like
some of them were.
Some of these rumors have been so off base that I feel like it's almost disingenuous to discuss them.
Well, I don't think these are, but I don't know enough about it. I don't really know. Like some of the rumors have been from like anonymous Twitter accounts where wrong. But yeah, I think normally the ones that are wrong get corrected fairly quickly, or rather like muted on Twitter. So you can get, but also the Chengdu stuff isn't rumor, so we can.
Yeah, the Chengdu stuff's not. Yeah.
Okay, well let's talk about Chengdu then. I'm sure people. I think if these get confirmed, then we'll discuss it on a Plat Chat episode. But I don't. Yeah, anonymous Twitter accounts. Get it out of here. You know what I mean? Just get it out. I want to see it. Don't wanna
Yeah,
see
I mean
it.
these
You
are.
have to draw the line somewhere,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, none
Yeah.
of these are just anonymous accounts, but yeah.
They're not. None of these are not anonymous.
No, I think these were all Halo, weren't they? The Vancouver.
Yeah, they're all from Halo.
ones?
Yeah.
And I mean, Halo
And
has
he's
definitely
been
been wrong in this
pretty-
offseason.
Yeah,
but
I'm-
he's
been
you
pretty
can-
accurate.
You can kind of tell when he's wrong or not, though, because the players come out and tell him when he's wrong.
Go on.
yeah.
So-
Let's just wait until it's confirmed, I think, and then we can actually have
Okay.
our opinions on it. Because unfortunately, our words have weight, and people literally listen to us for signing news, and we can ruin lives on this show. Let's talk about let's talk
Send
about
bribes
Chengdu.
to my PayPal account.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
a promise?
Yeah, look at what we did to Jake when we would talk about the Outlaws. Now he's here with us. We've ruined his life.
That's true.
Just washed
Chengdu.
up. Feels bad, man.
Chengdu have finalized their roster.
And
it
Jake,
seems. Or
I've
like
seen
they've
some of the, we've covered a lot of these signings, Jake. You could easily get on some of these teams. A lot of teams looking for that flex DPS spot.
Jake to
Coming back to
Chengdu,
junk
that's what
round
I
one
keep
trick,
saying.
guys. You heard it here
You can't
first.
keep saying you're washed up and then come on here and talk about some of these players and say, yeah, that's all right, and then just
Oh
get
yeah, I
off
was
here.
playing with him on the ladder. Yeah, that's so weird. I was playing them in the like
gets off
top
here, makes a
10
protein
ranked.
shake and just
That's what
beats
you,
their ass.
that's
on the
what you
ladder.
do when you come on the show. Like, yeah, guys, just keep playing with, just in the top 10 of DPS ranked.
Yeah, no big
No
deal.
biggie.
No big deal. I'm just, number 14.
And he's like, oh, that's a good signing. And then he makes another shake and just beats the hell out of them. And he goes upstairs.
Look, if we're going for junk round 1v1s, I'm ready for anybody. All right. I don't think that meta's coming back, though.
Do we have any China specialists in the call here?
Josh.
Well, okay, so there's so much stuff to watch in this offseason with some of the players. So I've started watching some of the VODs of some of the new signings, but I haven't been watching all of them. Now, having said that, I still know some of these players.
Yeah,
Okay,
you remember
so
the
they've got
Matrix and the guy had the tubes hooked up to his head? I imagine that's what Josh is like, hooked up to a computer with just VODs of different games running, and they're just pumping the info into his skull.
so these are the players they've confirmed. So they've got Evital.
Yes.
Evital, Gaia, I'm assuming is how you pronounce
No,
this.
Gaga.
Gaga? The 9 is a G?
Yeah. I mean, it used to be a G, so I'm assuming it still is. Yeah.
Okay, Gaga. Kaneki, which is from an anime. I'm pretty sure that's from Tokyo Ghoul. Jimmy.
Yeah.
What team is this?
Jimmy's my favorite
Chengdu.
player already.
Jimmy. I've heard.
I love that. Jimmy. Late Young, Jinmu, Amon, Leave, Nisha, Elsa, and Far Away 1987.
Yeah. All right, let me run you through some of the.
Nisha coming to Overwatch.
If we go through things like in a logical order, though,
Go
if we
through
start at
them.
the supports.
How bizarre are you, Josh?
Okay, so 1987 is really good flex support. There's a lot of buzz around this guy. I've seen some of his VODs and he looked really good as well. He's like, I mean, if you talk about, well, back when Shy actually played flex support or someone like Molly, this is a big new powerful addition to their backline, which comes in to directly replace Molly. So then I don't think that even though Molly is big, I don't think they're going to be losing that much firepower because 1987 seems pretty good from the little that I've watched. I am confused as to why Eviltol is on a 2-way contract now because I thought that guy was really good whenever I watched him.
Yeah.
Like Eviltol was one of the backbones of this roster, so not really sure what's going on there. I haven't watched enough Nisha to know whether that is like a really good replacement that they're going to be able to work with. But either way, the backline should be pretty good. Tank is where things get really interesting, though, because Chengdu forever has just not had a real main tank. Like, you can love Eamon as much as you like, but the guy has not been like a true main tank. It's always been a real
At
weird
least
style
in
of
the
Overwatch
West,
that they've had
yeah.
to play.
The term I was using, like the meme shield, that I feel like Chengdu have been protected from a lot of criticism. But in China, as far as I'm aware, that is not the case. I think they get ripped to shreds on a regular basis on messaging boards. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah. I
can't read
at least
Chinese
in the
messaging
West,
boards.
Yeah, I mean, anybody here? Anyway, it feels like when we talk about Chengdu, though, it's always like, oh, classic Chengdu, always bottom of the mid table.
This team is going to be this team they put together though, like I guess outside of like a Gushway, like an all-star Chinese roster.
Well, go on, Josh. Finish your point about the.
They're still
tanks,
missing a couple of people, but anyway,
Yeah.
like, the Gaga is almost like your Gushway. Like, I'm not going to say that he's at the same level as Gushui, but he's the next best main tank that's been coming up in China. And he is your, like, all-round versatile main tank. He still plays a bunch of ball. Not that you would expect him to really play the ball on this roster when you've got Eamon there, but who knows? But he's the first main tank that they've added to this team where I felt good about it. Who did they have originally? They had Jichirin.
Yes,
Jichirin and
Jichirin. Swam across the ocean.
And wasn't that Jichirin who swam across the ocean?
I think, with the visa problem. So we just kept joking about him just swimming.
Oh yeah,
He's swimming to get to LA.
Swimming from China.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they finally have a main tank that I feel pretty confident in now, alongside Eamon. But they still don't have. I mean, they've got Elsa and Late Young on off tank, which I don't know about you guys, but I've never been like that impressed with Elsa and Late Young compared to the rest of the league when it comes to off tanks. So
I think Elsa's
Elsa's Symmetra was sick.
True.
I mean, I think Elsa on Diva is really strong. I think maybe a lot of main tanks this year, not a lot, but there's a few main tanks I can particularly think of who I think had a harder season last season because Sigma was just completely dominant for like the entire season. I think that hero is still, after nerfs, still maybe broken in terms of like might get 80 to 90% play time. Just very, very powerful hero. You can play it in a lot of styles. And I think the people whose best hero was Sigma or who had like a top tier Sigma thrived, and the people who were like off tank players who were really just like diva gods who also played the other off tanks, I think they had a hard season, even though they're still amazing players. I think I would put Elsa in that category of like noticeably better at diva, because diva was, I mean, for like 4 years was like the off tank that mattered. And now, now there's like more heroes to play, and their, I mean, aiming style strategy is like completely different between diva and Sigma. So it's a huge test for a lot of off tanks of how they can sustain that. But I do think Elsa has that potential just off of his diva performances.
And the DPS is very well rounded as well. They've got Jinmu is just Jinmu here. There's no one else like him. And then they've got Leave. And I haven't watched too much of Jimmy, but I've watched some of Kaneki as well. And I think that all round they seem to be pretty balanced in terms of what they have to offer when it comes to DPS. So I think this could be in theory a pretty new year for Chengdu, where they don't have to play some nonsense in order to win. They actually could
Jimmy
play meta shit.
I love
the Jimmy Jinmu. Nice play by Jimmy, followed up by Jinmu. Jinmu and Jimmy.
Yeah, I can't. Yo, put me on those 3 a.m.ers with Jimmy, my boy Jimmy.
Jimmy
just gets silly. We need a Timmy, man. If somebody out there, if there's an Overwatch Contenders player who watches Plat Chat, change your name to Timmy and join the Hunters, because we need the Jimmy and Timmy tank line or DPS line. Imagine they're just pounding. Imagine they're just sick. Jimmy and Timmy just destroying the Overwatch league.
In the same way, Bren said we could ruin somebody's like a career, we can make their career as well. If you are a Contenders player and you change your name to Timmy, we will cover every one of your matches. We will give a Timmy update weekly.
We'll like hype you up for no reason on Plat Chat.
Where is Timmy? Where is Timmy going? And what is Timmy doing?
Yeah.
God, we almost already could with Jerry and Jimmy.
I mean, Jerry, I think we elevated Jerry's stocks to unbelievable levels. I think we got him the bag this year already. Honestly,
well, I mean, that was what Bren for an hour and a half was just screaming, Jerry, Jerry, like in the fucking match. I remember watching the VOD. I was like, what the hell is going on? He killed like 3 people. Jerry!
we got the crowd screaming Jerry.
Yeah,
it was fucking incredible. Yeah.
They used to have Gary on the Chengdu Hunters as well.
They did used to have Gary.
In fact, he's still a coach for them. I don't know.
Is he still a coach?
Wikipedia has him as
could you make
assistant
an
coach?
Could you make an all first name team? Do we have enough players who just go?
Definitely.
Oh, we have
Molly,
Jake,
Gary, Jimmy,
Jake,
Jerry,
Gary, Jimmy, Gary,
Michelle.
Elsa.
That would be such a lovely team. Everyone's like first name.
And Jimmy. Yeah. We got enough players where you could just be the first name squad.
That's my way back into the Overwatch League, when a team decides to just go absolute meme.
Commit to all first names.
We'll only sign players with first name gamer tags. Sign me up for the tryouts, baby. Let's go.
I don't think we have anything else to add really on this, because we are woefully ignorant.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll correct that in time for the Overwatch League. Maybe we won't. Who knows? You just have to.
The latter.
You'll have to come back.
No.
And
We will. The Guangzhou Charge have changed up their coaching staff. There's another one for you. Daemin and Neko have been added as to the coaching staff. So this is not the Daemin that's the French coach that some of you are probably thinking. This is a different Daemin. Daemin.
This is actually the Daemon that used to play for the Shanghai Dragons, if you remember, like way back when, like in 2018, he was part of the Norton 42 team.
Is it the same Neko as he played for Toronto, right?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, I think this is a good thing, man.
both.
Players going coach is really important for the game because generally speaking, ex-players are going to be like the best coaches.
Yeah. Supposedly they trialed both of these coaches over like a 3-week period. And that I guess like whether the players or organization just really like their work ethic and what they could contribute. So now they're full-time on the coaching staff.
I've just looked at this tweet of the Guangzhou Charge announcing this, and I've realized that there are now parody accounts of Fuck It So Min Soo. There's someone who's made a Frickit Exy who just posts the exact same thing. Like it was already a meme that had no comedy value. And now you're just making it even worse.
People are bored.
People
are
are
so
bored.
This just in.
I need something to do.
There's OWL fans out there that they do this a lot. I don't know what it is. There's a certain subsection of OWL fans that they just do this. I don't know why. I don't really know why.
It's wild.
Yeah, there's little subsections of culture in Overwatch that you wouldn't even believe. You wouldn't even look at this. Yeah, I mean.
This is
I don't
what we
get
call
it.
low effort meme.
Yeah, I bet it's so popular because it's just
It's so popular.
But like, is it
It's
supposed to be
so
funny? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be funny. I mean, he has 6,000 followers, and all he
It's
posts is
so
shit,
fucking
shit, shit.
stupid. Like, look at it.
Fucking so
Just an impact font meme. You guys are just old. You don't get it. It's
maybe
ironic.
me and Josh are just boomers.
It's ironic.
Yeah. Is it ironic?
Yeah,
Is
because
that...
like impact font memes are like from 2002.
I think this
I
is
know.
unironic.
It just looks
I
like
think
a
this is-
2002 meme.
Unironic. In other coaching news, Florida's re-signed Kuki, which is pretty.
Oh, I love this actually because it's not just for next year; it's for the next 2 years.
I've already said
Smart move,
resigns.
yeah.
What?
I think I'm dyslexic. I read resigns at first, and I was like, "What? Why would they do that?"
How would he
Is
resign for the
re-signs
next 2
hyphenated,
years?
technically?
How-
They might just be spelled the same. Is re-sign supposed to be hyphenated?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it's supposed to be hyphenated, but who? Yeah,
I don't know, like the correct.
We don't know English here. Don't worry.
I mean, you wouldn't use resign as a verb on. You can't resign somebody else. You can fire them. You
here we go.
You can accept their resignation, but grammatically, I don't think you can. Quote unquote
that's
resign
true.
somebody else.
That's true. I
You
like
can't do
this,
it over a
Josh.
period of 2 years as well. I don't know how.
Yeah,
that
I'm gonna
would work.
resign you for 2 years. Put your career in the grave.
I like this for the same reasons you do, Josh, which are.
Josh never.
I
said
didn't say
Josh
my
didn't
reason.
say why.
Yeah,
he liked it.
I know. I know
Brennon's
what
the king of passing the
listen,
buck on this show.
I know.
Bren just throws out. He is just throwing out the most generic phrases. Yeah, Josh, I agree. He didn't even say anything you could agree with yet. You
Coaching
just turned
staff.
your brain off before we even
Always about
started.
the coaching staff.
Yeah, coaching staff.
You gotta have a segment at this point. It's been like a full year.
The coaching. We gotta have like
Josh, you're gonna
Bren's
make your
coaching
points
corner
that
be
I
a
have something to
segment or
back you up
something.
with.
What?
Okay, just gonna stay silent. All right,
Josh is leaving you in the hot seat. What you got to say?
you're talking to me. I couldn't hear you because Matt was talking at the same time. What did you say?
I said you're gonna make your point so I can back you up.
Well, if you say you like it for the same reason that I do, you must have an idea of the reasons that you like it. You must have that idea in order for you to articulate that.
But I am the host.
Well,
Wait,
I'm here to set you guys up.
You
want me to tell
already
you-
had a thought of why you enjoyed it.
You want me to tell you my reasons?
I have that, but what I'm saying is I don't need to speak first so that
I'll
Bren
tell you
can
my
agree
reasons.
with it. We
I'll tell
could
you
do
why
it
I
the
like
other
this.
way around.
I'll tell you why I like this. Proven track
Yeah.
record. Clearly, he's come into the team with the structure necessary to actually facilitate a good team that was punching for the top ranks. in North America. I think a former player, this is one of the most successful transitions we've had in recent memory of a former player going to coaching staff. Not a lot of players can do it because it's
I think
a
it's
different
the most successful.
It is right.
Yeah,
It's got to be the most successful because there's not really many other players that have been able to carry that over because the skills necessary to coach a team can be quite different. Yes, you need the game knowledge, which players are obviously going to have, but you also need people skills. You need to be able to actually communicate. You need to be able to, effectively, for reasons we've already talked about. Listen, I'm not going to beat it to death. We've literally spoke about this at length at the start. I think Kuki embodies a lot of those qualities that you need in a good coach from the sounds of it. So them signing it for 2 years sounds like Florida are on a very committed path here to just have success now from this point on. They've got someone who is steering the ship with a clear idea in mind, and it's good. It's all good. Josh, were you going to say that? What are you doing?
He's tying his shoe.
Tying his shoes?
I don't know why
Anyone
you
else
have
wanna
his shoes
speak?
on.
Who the fuck wears shoes to a podcast
Yeah, I got the
inside
flip-flops
their own
on. I got
home?
My slides on.
No, I accidentally ripped out the cable for my mic, so I couldn't.
Oh. But he agreed with everything you said. You guys are like telepathically linked.
No, that is the reason that I like it. But also, I think that Kuki has a vision for how they want to play. Like, he has a good idea of the identity of how he wants the team to play. And like, I think that is one of the most important things to have as a coach is you need like your way that you think about the game has to align with how the players want to play the game as well. And you have to find something that fits both of those in order to get the most out of it. And that seems like it just works really well. Plus, in the future, if they want to retool the team or something like that, I'm pretty sure that Kuki would be an effective scout. We've seen that with other players, Korean players that have transitioned over, that they've been very effective when put in the scouting role too, because they have lots of connections into the developmental Korean scene, which is where you're going to pick up most of your talent anyway. Plus, if you're a good player, you tend to be able to spot other people who are good players because you understand what good players should do in terms of the micro play, which a lot of other coaches might not really get because they're more focused on the macro. So yeah, I think everything about this is good. Is good.
Yeah. We know I think Cuss is pretty smart, and Kuki evidently is smarter than him, so I'm a fan.
No, that's not true.
No,
Custer got benched because he was too smart.
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe he's too smart for everybody but Kuki.
And the way Custer leads our raids, I mean, I don't know, Matt. I don't know.
No, that's because he's drunk.
Yeah.
But he probably wasn't drunk for the Valiant.
I don't know. We could look back over the votes.
That's why I said probably.
Oh, fuck, yeah. This is good news. Are we ready to move on?
I mean, you're the host. Yeah, I mean, whenever you're ready to move on.
I didn't know if
we can
anybody
move
wants
on.
to add on any like funny little anecdote they may have had with Kuki or something. I don't know.
Oh, no.
Well, I mean, a big thing to point out, though, when it comes to the Florida Mayhem is they're about the only team in the league that we are giving a pass as assuming that they're going to be a top 8 team in, a top half team in NA for next year, whilst they don't have a full roster that they've actually got put together. With the loss of Fate and the fact that Karayan also left, they simply do not have a main tank right now.
Yeah.
Like they are simply lacking one. And then they also haven't announced who's going to fill in Chris's position. Slime is available. That sounds like it would just be an absolute bang, bang done job. But who are they actually going to get the main tank? That's still a big question for them.
Okay. Time to move on to the best segment of the week. It's what everybody looks forward to. Bren's Player of the Week.
Before your best segment, can we add a segment?
What do you want to add?
Can we just go around? Because I saw a thread that just got posted and I thought it was funny. And it's basically who do you think will get announced post this posting of the episode? Where we all predict who will be announced immediately once this episode is over and what it is. We can just go around quick and just throw a name out there.
Okay.
You have an idea in mind? Since he knows everything.
No, I don't know anything. Fucking hell. The Shock tweeted 5 hours ago saying, you thought we were done making player announcements. So I feel like the Shock are going to announce someone that's going to break the entire episode. I don't know who they're going to announce, but I feel
But
like
it
I'm
doesn't
feeling
even
like
matter,
it's going to be the
dude.
Shock.
It honestly doesn't matter who the Shock announce. Like, in
But
my
what if they
opinion.
take somebody like significant off the market? That
Yeah, but I
someone
mean,
else
that's
was
the
looking
most
at?
significant thing they could do, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
just not really. Like, if I'm Shock right now, if I'm signing another player, it's another developmental player. It's a player you have a perspective can grow a lot. Like, I just feel like you're Shocked. Like, there is no one that I can imagine them signing that is like, oh my god, that's the instant starter in this position. It's like, you know, there might be some. Oh, okay, they fit in this certain meta. I think Shock cannot make an. I mean, maybe I'll be blown out of the water and wrong on this, but I just think anyone they announce, like, not to say they can't announce a good pickup and it won't make sense for the future of the team, but I don't see them doing anything that is going to radically change this roster. I don't see them announcing a player who's going to be a full-time starter because I don't see there being a player who's a full-time starter over the roster they have.
What if they signed me?
That would break the episode.
I would be shocked. I'll admit that. That would shock the world, Bren. That would shock the world.
I want to see something wild. I want to see something absolutely just crazy happen as soon as this episode goes live. I would say Rascal to Philly. Give me that as soon as the episode drops.
See,
Rascal
Rascal, I
to
don't think
Philly.
you want to Philly with Shockwave already signed, but maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, it makes no sense. I just want to see something wild happen.
Okay.
I think. Go on, Josh. You got a little suggestion?
Well, I just said, I literally started this off by saying I think the Shock are going to announce someone. I just don't know who. I don't know. I'll say Glister to the Shock. That's my.
That'd be
There
high.
we go.
Gonna say Fury.
Anyone on a team?
Is he? I thought
He's on Washington, yeah.
He's on Washington.
He's already joined Washington? All right, well, I'm not paying
Yeah,
attention.
Jake's got him being traded directly from
He's gonna be
Washington.
traded from
No, I don't think
Washington.
he's going to be traded. I didn't realize he already was signed. I just knew he was going to get signed, so. Yeah,
Meko is an off tank that's out there. There you go. You
Oh,
can put
true.
him in.
Is Meko out there?
I don't know.
Okay.
Is he out there? I don't know. The Liquid page is not,
Meko,
but
whatever.
Meko,
if Meko were out
Badoshin
there,
is
yeah, I'd say
still-
Meko to anybody. I don't know. I gotta make a better guess than that. Let's say Meko to yeah, Toronto. Screw it. Screw it, Toronto. Or it could be
Or Seoul.
Seoul. Wouldn't be
Seoul.
crazy actually.
Really still need an off tank. Please, for fuck's sake, either sign to you on a full contract or sign someone else. Please,
Yeah,
for the
Meko to
love
Seoul
of
would be
fucking
good,
God,
honestly.
do not make Marvel playoff tank next year.
Wow,
yeah.
Sigma is pretty fierce though, but I don't know about the other off tanks. I haven't seen.
That's the thing. And then Gesture full-time main tank. Oh, no.
Yeah, they do need better.
All right.
More
I
diversity.
think.
What does Bren think?
Yeah, I just had to check that he was available. I think Piggy
Mm-hmm.
a Shock.
Whoa.
Oh. Huh. Okay.
Huh.
What makes you talk about Piggy? Is a lot of people wouldn't know.
I think, honestly, because I know that the Shock were impressed with them as scrim partners when they were in Korea, with Talon, that is.
Yeah.
And I think it's a team that a lot of people probably overlook a little bit compared to other teams. And there's a lot of raw talent on that roster that's available right now. Still hasn't been picked up. So
That'd be spicy.
there you go. That's my bold prediction. If that comes true, then fucking I don't know.
We should have an award each episode. If you pick correctly,
Get a gift card
Then,
to Marks and Spencer.
hard. You get yeah.
Are we
A
ready to move
T-Mobile
on to my
gift card.
segment? This show's about me, you
This
know.
guy's a freaking egotist. Get me out of here.
Yeah.
Let's go to Red's Player of the Week, presented by T-Mobile.
Stop right there, criminal scum. You've violated the law. It's time to pay penance by watching Bren's Player of the Week, presented by T-Mobile.
There you go.
Why are you shirtless in this?
I don't know. I don't know.
He's sure
My-
listen a bunch of them for whatever
My
reason.
Player of the Week this week is the London-based AI company known as Deep Minds, for their contributions in finding a mechanism, an AI, that can accurately develop protein structures
We need to
in
take this award away from him.
record-breaking time.
This is supposed to be your player of the week. This is
I was
not
dying,
okay.
dude.
This is
Matt, like his eyes rolled back in his head, dude.
Okay, so Jake, he gave this to the scientific community like 2 weeks ago. It's not a player; it's just a community. Before we started today, he said to me, "This is before Josh joined the call or you got here." He said to me, "He's like." Wait till you see my Bren's player of the week. You're never going to get it. Yeah, I never would have guessed it would be an AI-based company who's creating protein because they're not a player. They have nothing to do with Overwatch.
This is pretty sick. So they've discovered
Cool. Yeah, it's kind
traditional
of
methods.
This is a show about Overwatch.
Have you never watched Plat Chat? It's okay. You skip my segment. Don't worry about it. The thing is, the typically the process for trying to model proteins is very expensive and time consuming. And they have developed an AI that radically shortens the time and expense of developing protein structures, like a model for them. So this is going to be, honestly, this is kind of just booting that kind of field of science, which stretches quite far. You'd be surprised, quite a distance. It's going to be
so
really.
What does it have to do with Overwatch?
It's going to be really cool for discovering how diseases function and perform, how to solve a lot of diseases. It's a really big moment in human history.
To be fair, I'd be really down with some less global pandemics in the coming decades. So for the purposes of esports and Overwatch, I mean, this
is bigger than COVID. This is you might need to get the nice. I think this has implications beyond COVID as well. I mean, this is just very, very big.
This might be the same AI that Gunba uses to select players for the Valiant. He just models how they all fold together on a team. He's got a very complex trial structure where he plugs them in as RNA nucleotides.
There was nothing else that you could point to for, like, you could have given some love to Tobi and try and like big him up to find a team. You could have made him your player. You could have made it for Super for coming back.
Or for beating Dark Souls 3.
Or beating Dark Souls.
You could have given it to Dante for his very true comments on how double shield is not the meta right now, and please stop playing it in ranked.
Yeah.
I'd rather give it to the DeepMind's AI lab.
Well, what's cool about them from a gaming perspective is that, you know, they got their start in terms of research perspective, starting to build their process, developing AIs for games.
Did they with DeepMind?
Yeah, I believe DeepMind's the group that created the Go AI that defeated the world champion of Go.
Yeah, StarCraft stuff.
Yeah, they've had StarCraft AI and Dota AI. They've like, I believe that was early stages for the company, building AIs as just learning about the process of building machine learning algorithms.
Yeah,
that they were able to create like world championship beating game AIs, because of course the game world is, you know, simplified down to a limited number of variables. But it's exciting to me. I was excited following those projects for the pure love of the game, but to see them now realizing the dream of turning these incredibly powerful tools onto, you know, the most fundamental challenges of humanity.
You could have given it to Jake for filling in for Johnny, and also casting.
Where's the love,
I can't just fucking give it to every person who fills in for a person on this show. Like, you say this actually every time we have a guest on the show. You say, why didn't you give it to them? Fuck you, man. It's my award. All right?
Usually you're the person who's not here. How would you know?
I'm always here. I've never missed an episode.
We've had Jaws host like half of the episodes.
This is the first time I'm telling you, but I'm going to be missing an episode in like 2 weeks' time.
Digging your own grave.
There we go.
Yeah. You could have given it to Johnny for moving.
Dude, listen.
For
people,
moving? I don't know about that.
What? People need good news in these times, and I just want to hit them with a little bit of good news in the scientific community.
When did we start the episode?
This is a fucking dope development.
Like 2:30.
What
Think
is
about
this?
where's Brennon this one? Don't see any Brennon hook in this episode.
Is this where he gave it to Jaws gave it to Linkzr on Gibraltar, though? Jaws is actually a worse.
Jaws is the worst Brenn's Player of the Week awarder ever.
Wait, what?
Oh, no, we gave it to Beth. This is where we gave it to Beth. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
this is a good one.
This is the only good one.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty good. Yeah,
I could have given it to
Matt, he could have given it to any human being on Earth. Are you just going to go through every human being on Earth and every group of individuals to say you could have given it to him? Could have given it to him.
What was the second draft pick in 2005?
Give me a team of the first draft.
Give us a second.
Yeah, give me the team of the first draft pick.
Second draft pick 2005 in the NBA. Yeah.
It was the Wilkinson Wizards.
No, that's not the team.
The what?
The Wisconsin.
Oh yeah, Wisconsin, not Wisconsin. Wisconsin.
Oh, it was the Atlanta Hawks.
Isn't the Wizards the Washington Wizards? I don't watch basketball.
What was the team?
I don't think it's the Wisconsin Wizards, man.
No, it's the Wisconsin Wizards.
The Atlanta Hawks.
The Atlanta Hawks.
I told you.
2005.
2005.
Yeah,
Second.
2005.
Who had the number one pick that year, Kurt?
The Bucks.
Oh, that was the Florida Buccaneers.
Fucking Florida.
There's a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team in the NFL.
Yeah, there's the Tampa Bay. Who had the number one pick that year, Kurt?
The Bucks.
The Milwaukee Bucks.
Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks took Andrew Bogut out of Utah, number one. Who had number two?
Jesus Christ, how do you know this stuff?
Was Andrew Bogut
He fills his
number
head full
one, Kurt?
of useless knowledge.
Yeah.
Andrew Bogut
and
was number one, right?
Pushes out all the useful stuff in his brain.
What the fuck?
He doesn't know how to
He's
cook
stumped,
chicken.
though. I've got
or
him.
look
He's
after
stumped.
himself.
He's stumped. I've got him.
Oh,
This was
That's a
15
tough
years
one.
ago. How do you even know the first
Yeah.
round draft pick?
yeah. I got the number one guy.
But I want to know the number two. We got to keep throwing these curveballs at you.
All right, is there gonna be?
I want to say a
No,
name,
this is
but I
the
know
show's
it's
over. You can
wrong.
leave.
Should I go
actually.
stream?
You can go stream if you want.
Yeah, you can go stream.
This is actually the end of the show. I don't know how the show
Yeah,
works.
yeah, for a bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
You can go if you want.
I'm gonna go stream. You guys can
Okay.
talk about the
Yeah, goodbye,
draft
Jake.
pick at
Bye,
2005.
bye, Jay. Have a
without
good
me.
stream. Thanks for
having me,
yeah.
boys.
Thanks for filling in.
Pleasure.
Who was who picked number three, Kurt?
The Utah Jazz, which was from Portland.
Now Gordon Hayward was too young. Well, he would be too young. I have no idea on that one.
Miss.
Yeah.
That's a rare miss.
a rare one.
Who was it?
I got the first one. I was gonna guess Stromile Swift, but that is wrong.
Who was
Because
it?
I think
Kurt?
Stromile Swift got drafted by the Grizzlies. Marvin Williams.
Marvin Williams.
Mm.
Does that ring bells?
Yeah, Marvin Williams plays he plays for the Bucks now.
The first
Or he just
draft
was
pick
on the
was an
Bucks last
Australian?
season.
From Australia?
Andrew Bogut's from Australia, but he went to college at Utah.
Ah, interesting. All right, cool. Well, that was a wrap. Nice episode, guys. Good
Yeah.
job.
Thanfor joining, Jake.
Yeah,
thanks,
Jake.
Jay. He's in the kitchen. I can hear him cleaning up. Yeah, what have we got? We're going to be running another community event, right? Soon?
Yep.
We don't know
Soon.
when. We don't have any details.
Sometime this month. If you have any ideas of how we can improve off of the last one, leave them in the comments
Yeah,
below.
write a little comment. And also, subscribe to youtube.com/Brencast.
No, subscribe to this channel.
Oh, yeah, subscribe to this channel.
Yeah,
but
subscribe
mainly
to this
mine.
channel.
But mainly my one. Because
Yeah.
not Jake's.
And Jake's
Jake
channel.
left early, not Jake's.
Yeah, no, Jake left
You
early.
watch
He doesn't
Jake's
get the
Twitch,
promo
but
stuff.
not his YouTube. Okay?
Is this episode ever gonna fucking end?
No, we can end it.
End it,
You
Kurt,
can
end
end
it,
it.
end
Kurt.
it,
All right,
Kurt.
follow our YouTube and our Twitter, please. You guys are the best.
If you don't
Yep.
follow our Twitter,
Do that.
I'm going to be really angry.
Just follow.
Bye.
Who cares? Over in